welcome to the Ergonomics review of the Glock 20. This is obviously a polymer framed striker fired pistol. The weight of the pistol unloaded is 30.89 ounces. It's got a 4.6 inch barrel length. Overall length is 8.22 inches and height is 5.47 inches. Now, a lot of people regard this particular Glock as a hunting firearm, and while I acknowledge that it might very well excel in that role, I am not an avid hunter. I have nothing against hunting, it's just not my thing. But in a role as a defensive firearm, I really don't think there are any equals in several ways. This particular pistol, which is an everyday carry item for me, some might think that it's too large to carry, but I'll get into some options of how to carry it in a little while. Since it is an everyday carry, I'm going to have to go ahead and clear the weapon. Okay, now we're good to go and safe to handle the weapon. I guess we'll start with maybe ergonomics. I have fairly large hands. This particular Glock 20 is the Gen 4, which is the SF, meaning it is a slim frame version of the original Glock 20. The original Glock 20, people complained that it was just too thick from here to here. For me, they always fit my hand as if Gaston Glock had me in mind when he designed it, or as if he took a print of my hand to make the gun. For me, it's basically, without the additional back straps and everything, it is basically a custom fit for me. So I might be a little biased in my enthusiasm for this particular firearm. The operating system is standard Glock. It uses their safe action striker fired mechanism. Nothing really special to say about the trigger. It's pretty much a standard Glock 5.5 pound trigger. There's been so much said, written, debated about and everything about, there's really nothing more I can tell you other than it's a very serviceable fighting pistol trigger. It doesn't hamper the gun's accuracy, yet it's not so light as to be too light to be acceptable for use in a defensive role. So enough said on that. My particular gun is bone stock, with the possible exception, or not the possible, the only exception being these excellent Trigicon HD tritium sights. As you can see, you have the kind of blaze orange front with a tritium in the center, and then the back is just a U-notch with only tritium in the back. I wasn't really all that thrilled when I first got these. I actually put a set of these on a Glock 41 that I purchased before I purchased this gun, because nobody had the correct sights in stock, and I just kind of went with what was available. This is what was available, and after using them, I decided, this is really the way to go. So when I got the Glock 20, these went on the gun. It's a comfortable, provided you don't have, micro-sized hands, polymer framed gun, and it's not overly heavy, especially when you consider that what you are carrying in this firearm is 16, if you count the one in the chamber, 16 rounds of 10 millimeter. Now, for those of you who don't know, 10 millimeter has a somewhat mixed history in some people's minds. It's not overly popular, although it is gaining some newfound traction with gun enthusiasts lately, because there really is nothing that compares to it. Most of the defensive loads that are recommended today are 9 millimeter, and 9 millimeter is what I would personally consider it's the least I would want to depend on for my life. In order to cease the hostile actions of others, it's less than ideal. The muzzle energy of most of your defensive loads in 9mm are around the 350 to 380 to 90 foot-pound range. And that's all well and good, and people talk about modern bullet design and these new magic bullets, but ultimately, no, my philosophy in getting this gun was simply, handguns are not great for ceasing the hostile actions of others. They are not good at stopping fights. There are many videos that you can watch that are not tactical school videos. They are videos that are academic lectures presented by trauma surgeons. One in particular was very informative that I watched, and basically these trauma surgeons state that 8 out of 10 people are actually higher. It's around 86% of people that are shot even multiple times in the torso with a handgun will survive, and that they do not cease their whatever they're doing, running around, any kind of hostile actions that they're engaged in. They don't cease immediately. A rifle is really the only thing that will do that reliably, to turn off that behavior like a switch and put somebody on the ground and stop what they're doing. That being said, 10mm is a round that surpasses a lot of other defensive calibers in that, especially the round that I selected for this gun as my defensive ammo, which is made by a company called Double Tap. You can see here the velocity for 150 grain hollow point is listed at 1,475 feet per second out of a 5-inch barrel. So this is about a 4.6-inch barrel. And sorry I didn't keep my cheat sheet as accurate as I should have. Basically, you're looking at over 700 foot-pounds of muzzle energy out of this round. And you're carrying 16 of them in the gun. So what that basically translates to is you're looking at decent mid-level 357 Magnum power ratings out of a gun that holds 16 rounds and has all the advantages of a semi-auto, not just in capacity, but because of this polymer frame. You have some, and the operating mechanism, you have some recoil mitigation there. So it's not as hard kicking as a 357 Magnum, but it holds a lot more rounds. It's much more easily reloaded. It's thinner, more easily carried, and you're able to recover for follow-up shots much more quickly. So, there's my argument so far for the 10mm. Yes, it's obscure. Yes, it's expensive, especially this double tap stuff. I don't want to misquote their current pricing, but you're going to be paying premium defensive ammunition prices for this stuff. But there really is nothing in 9 or 40 or 45 that will touch it. There is a Wildcat caliber 9x25 Dillon that might even exceed it, but as far as something that someone who doesn't reload can readily at least internet order and obtain ammo for his gun, or his or her gun, this is, to my way of thinking, the way to go. It's not just a small difference, folks. It's not a small difference going from a 9 to a 10, or from a 40 to a 10, or from a 45 to a 10. Everybody who basically says, oh, 9mm is all you need, and I just can't help but say to them, look at the math. Either they'll bring up the ballistics gel testing of current 9mm loadings and say, see, look what it does, and I always want to tell these people, or scream through the TV screen or the computer screen, look, people are not made out of ballistics gel. They're not homogeneous material. There are ribs. There are, different degrees of toughness in connective tissue and muscle and fat and skin. What I do know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a tactical expert, but what I do know is that the simple math is in favor of the 10. And what makes a rifle bullet stop a person is delivering an enormous amount of energy to the target. And if you can almost double the amount, you take a less than ideal tool like a handgun and bring it closer, albeit not in rifle territory, it gets you a lot closer to that. So this is why I consider, the 10 millimeter, if properly loaded with Underwood ammo or double tap ammo, it is what I feel is the best self-defense cartridge available right now, if you can handle the blast and if you can handle the recoil. A lot of the reason people got turned off to 10 was that the FBI decided to download the 10. That's how we ended up with the 40, and now everybody hates the 40 because the 40's out of style. Folks, the 40 still works. 40 doesn't make your guns blow up. These tactical schools want to espouse 9mm because it's cheaper, it's more readily available, and it's more conducive to training more often and signing up for more classes than 10. So, if you're only going to own one gun, maybe a 9mm is the best bet for you. But if you're an enthusiast, which you probably are because you're watching this channel and you're watching this video, 10 is the way to go if you're serious about stopping a threat. And if you can take the size and you can take the blast, the recoil actually out of this gun, I'm going to try and roll in some footage of the gun being fired. The recoil is really not that bad. It's a combination of the relatively light bullet weight that I selected, which is 150 grain instead of 180 grain, and this polymer frame kind of flexing a little bit, and just the ergonomics of the Glock. So I'll try and roll in some footage here so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, the trip to the range didn't go quite as anticipated. A lot of the footage was, let's just, shall we say, not usable or indicative of the gun's performance. So there are only going to be a few quick clips of the gun in kind of a semi-rapid fire mode, just to give you an idea of the recoil of the weapon and some of the handling. So sorry about that, folks. I'll try to do better on the next range trip. Okay, so now back from the range. So, my argument is nothing really compares to this. As far as the amount of potential muzzle energy that you can pack into a carryable package, this is it. Now, speaking about carry, that can be somewhat problematic with this gun. This is not something that I would recommend for belt carry unless you're a police officer or somebody who, carries a duty weapon not concealed. For those of you who live in areas where you can open carry, yes, it's an option. But I'm going to be doing a different video regarding my thoughts concerning open carry for civilians. So the option I went with is an excellent shoulder rig made by a company, Shooting Systems and Elite. It is a, as you can see, it's a nylon shoulder rig. It has a very nice kind of a pivoting shoulder harness system here. It allows you to carry 2 magazines on the offhand side, and the holster and the accessory pouches, which you can change out, are secured with these Fastex buckles. The holster goes for about $80 some, depending on how you configure it, and it's available for a wide variety of guns. If you just type in Shooting Systems shoulder holster, you'll get to the website. There's a sizing chart. But this holster also has this little plastic clamp with a Chicago screw and a regular hex screw on this side that allows you to tension the holster appropriately for the gun. And then it also has what I like. I know I'm kind of old school in this regard, but at least on a shoulder rig, I like having a thumb snap. So, you know, it stows. This sits, if you're a medium to large frame person, this will sit under your armpit all day. You'll forget that it's there. The gun's not overly heavy. And, you know, if you look at a size comparison between this and some other what are regarded as full-size service pistols, you know, you have your Glock 17, or here's a SIG P226. For those of you in the know, try to look at that. Made in West Germany. Be envious and go ahead and drool. I don't care. I've had this gun for a long time and it's a great weapon. But as you can see, you know, if you compare it to a 226, you know, there's not a lot of difference there, and the power factor, you know, with the 10mm is just amazing. That particular shoulder rig, you throw on a t-shirt, you put on the shoulder rig, you put on a button down over top of it. Nobody will know it's there. You'll kind of forget that it's there. It carries well for something this size. One thing I did fail to mention, sorry, and I should have tagged it right after talked about it right after the range insert. This is a exceptionally accurate gun as well, depending on loading. The first load that I selected for it was Double Tap's 135 grain because it had a little bit better muzzle velocity and better muzzle energy than the 150 grain. But it proved to be somewhat inaccurate in this gun. So what you're going to have to do, you know, each gun is an individual, as they always say, and it is, unfortunately, that is true. If or when you do get one of these things and you're planning on using it, you're going to have to try a couple different loadings to see, you know, what's going to work out best for you accuracy-wise and controllability-wise. I found that going with the lighter bullet weights, the 135 and the 135s are pussycats to shoot, even though they come out screaming. I can't remember the velocity; it was just ridiculous. But they weren't accurate to my standard. My standard for a defensive pistol is at 10 yards you should be able to keep all your shots within an area the size of a credit card, if you're taking your time and doing what you're supposed to do. So this meets or exceeds that with the 150 grain loading. I really haven't experimented a lot with the 180 grains because the 150s were the second load I tried for this pistol, and you know, based on the performance, I just wanted to stick with what I had. So accurate, reliability, zero malfunctions, and I mean zero. Now granted, this is not the kind of gun that you're going to take to the range and put 2,000 rounds, you know, a month through this gun, because the 10mm ammo is expensive. That's why I have guns that shoot less expensive ammo. The difference between shooting a Model 17 and a 10 is not what the tactical gurus will tell you. It is not all that different. The recoil is, you know, slightly more than you would get out of, say, a Model 22, and slightly more than a 40 caliber Glock would be, but not that much. It's not that much, folks. It's not significant enough to bear mentioning, other than to mention that it isn't significant, if that makes any sense at all. So yes, I'm highly stoked on this gun. It's, you know, affordable. The magazines are relatively readily available. The ammo, provided that you don't buy the anemic downloaded garbage that you find everywhere else, go to Double Tap or Underwood or Buffalo Bore, or, you know, if you reload or work up your own load, if you get the appropriate loadings, there is no equal to this for doing what it's intended to do. And you know, I can't recommend this firearm highly enough. I'm very stoked about it, and that's why it is my primary carry gun. You know, if it's a day where I just can't lug this thing around, which isn't that difficult, but just say for the sake of argument that, you know, all I can wear is shorts and a t-shirt, I'll go with a Smith & Wesson Shield in 40 cal. Yes, the hated 40 cal. You know, but you know, in a optimal EDC situation, this is the primary, the Shield is the secondary, and that's how it goes. You know, the Shield goes in the front pocket, this goes under the left armpit, and out the door I go. And like I said, it's all day comfortable, accurate, powerful. It might not be aesthetically pleasing for some of you, but she might not look like much, but she's got it where it counts. And that's what it comes down to for this gun for me. She's got it where it counts. It's a real stellar performer, and provided that the availability of the higher velocity, higher performance 10mm ammo, provided that it's still available, I can't see ever getting rid of this wonderful firearm. So it's a big time recommend for you folks out there. Thank you for coming by to take a look at this gun, and we'll see you in the next video.